Thank you, Tim. Good day to all of you. Yes, as Tim has said, our focus is on natural health, natural ingredients. And if nothing, the last 2 years, we understand that even more now, as COVID broke out. It was affecting those of us who were not well in some way or some form, and it was killing those of us who were even more unwell. So I think there's a new interest in health across the world. There's a new interest in healthy lifestyles across the world. I think we represent that opportunity in a new way. Next. This is just standard disclaimers, which we have to do. So as we finished 2021 well, with good growth, good revenue. We take part in an industry that's growing 8 to 9%, which is and has got a market size of about $4.4 trillion. We had strong rebound from 2021, and we have good growth in 2022, and our momentum continued into 2022. And we have multiple growth options across 4 divisions, and the growth forecast interim, at least till end of June, is we'll be growing about 26% into on the first half of the year. Next. So we went through a year of achievements. We've got activity going on in China. As the whole world knows, with China, they've been a lockdown. They're coming out of a lockdown right now, and things are definitely moving faster there for our cosmetic collagen, which we got registered with the Chinese authorities just before Chinese New Year. On the test kits, we had a surge, but obviously there's been a slowdown in COVID worldwide. But I'm seeing now, as we go into the second half of the year, there's a growth, there's an increase, unfortunately, of COVID in nearly every of the 89 countries we're tracking right now. We also showed that our sanitizer, NetShield, remains effective on the skin and heart surfaces for 12 hours, which means that if you use it, then you don't, unlike alcohol, where you got to sanitize your hands every 20 or 30 minutes, here it will last the entire year as long as you don't wash your hands. And then we launched late last year new products, sanitizing nasal balm and a water-soluble vitamin D. For the low GI range, we've seen increase in orders from Costanzos and in Malaysia from Rex Industries for the low calorie sugar. We already had a first commercial order, more an R&D order from Country Farms and Starbucks. Starbucks Malaysia is part of a listed company called Berjaya Foods. And Berjaya Foods tends to buy all products for their 4 franchises under them. Starbucks, Kenny Rogers, 7-Eleven, and another range of Mediterranean vegetarian food called Sala. So they buy it through Country Farms. We had the first order, and now they are coming very close to a commercial launch in Malaysia for the low GI breads via Starbucks. Again, we had early this year a positive COVID test also for our all-natural nano silver disinfectant. And I think this is important because our nano silver is not made chemically, it's made biogenically, it's from biogenic sources, it's safe to drink, it's safe if applied on the skin, it's safe if sprayed in the air and you inhaled it. Next. So these are the numbers for first half of this year, first half, right? So we broke record highs in terms of receipts, 2.8 million. Our operational cash flow has improved significantly. And that's despite the fact we made some inventory investments with a declining ringgit in Malaysia or a declining Australian dollar versus the US dollar. We thought it made sense to bulk up a bit on our inventory. With increased logistic costs, it also made more sense for us to build up inventory. So despite that, we've seen our cash flows improve. Forecast for first half is a growth of about 26% to about 4.5 million. This is due to the multiple growth drivers. And we see this now going positively for the second half of the year. As I said earlier, we have invested heavily in building inventory to manage both inflation as well as supply risks to meet customer demand. What we see will be a stronger growth in the second half of the year. Next. So we saw a V-shaped recovery like everybody else. We too suffered through COVID. But in terms of sales and growth, we've seen a recovery, and we expect this to continue into 2022. Revenues were up 13%, up to 8 million for financial year 21. And our financial year ends December 31st. Net losses have improved, and this year we will improve this position further. 3 out of the 4 divisions posted double-digit growth. Gross margins have expanded from cost control and a change in our product mix. Next. The bulk of the business is still in Malaysia with our supplements, dietary supplements, where we are market leader by Nielsen standing, with fish oil with a brand called Pristine, and with Lacto5 with probiotic with a brand called Lacto5. I mean, we beat all other brands in these 2 categories, and we are continuing to push harder into the market with this, and we will expect 2 launches before end of the year. We are growing faster than market, obviously. In fact, we have more than 38% growth over the previous corresponding period. Of that alone to 1.5 million. The new products, vitamin D, Into Block, etc., will assist the growth as we go into the second part of this year. As I mentioned earlier, COVID has kind of brought a new realization. The same guys who never go to the gym, who smoke, who drink, who are diabetic, who never once in their life walk in the pharmacy looking for supplement, are now, according to my friends, looking for vitamin C and vitamin D and tiger milk mushroom, which is very popular among the Chinese, as a way to protect themselves from these ongoing issues of infections. And overnight, the US has now declared monkeypox as a health emergency. So that is again going to spike the need for people to supplement with dietary supplements. We've seen many studies in the course of this last 2 years. One in particular shows that, if your vitamin D is high enough, you will never enter an ICU. It's a study in New York. Your vitamin C is low enough, then you'll probably not survive the ICU. So there's a new interest in vitamins, C and D particularly, but also many of these mushrooms and herbs that people have record that improve their sense of immunity and well-being. Next. The pandemic before the pandemic and the pandemic after this pandemic will be obesity and diabetes, and that is being coined in the term called diabesity. For that one, unfortunately, there's no vaccine, right? So we've had a breakthrough as the world's first low GI white bread. We had a score of 46, which is the lowest that's recorded anywhere in the world. We've tied up with Costanzos. Now we're tying up with Starbucks in Malaysia. And Starbucks in Malaysia has a very strong slant towards vegan. So they've asked us to come up with menu, not only breads, but also a vegan range. And we work with a team. As I mentioned earlier, they have 4 other franchises, which we want to engage with as well. But I think this is an area where with diabetes, with obesity, Australia is the global leader with the University of Sydney, specifically on glycemic index, low GI. Professor Jenny Brand Miller and her team at Sydney, we work very closely with them. We do all the testing with them in Sydney before we launch. And they've been a great partner to work with, but they have made Australia a world player in low glycemic index. In fact, Australia has the highest density of low glycemic index products. So we think that this is a range that, as time goes on, again, linked to COVID, because we know those who died of COVID died of diabetes. The obese were more likely to die of COVID. So again, a movement towards healthier eating, where most people do not want to make a sacrifice. They still want their bread. They still want their noodles and pastas. And so we can offer them options where we add these ingredients, which are patented, which are all natural. And if they consume this, then their blood sugar is not going to spike as it normally would. And we do it without the need for any change in taste or color or smell. And our partners who are manufacturing do not need to make any tweak in their production lines. So we think there's an opportunity for people to move to a healthy lifestyle, for the industry to align with that. And I think the other bigger point is it's extremely affordable. It will add maybe 10% to the final product cost, not more than that. Next. Infection control, we had this division starting off in the course of 2020, right? And we had a few products we were looking at in terms of in this space, and we have quite a bit of activity there. Although there was a very poor quarter this year, we expect more activity given the fact that COVID is coming back somewhat with vengeance in many countries. Next. If we talk about hidden gems, then this is it. Australia is the only country in the world with disease-free sheep. That's very unique. The government has invested very heavily for biocontrol of all the borders. And the other thing is, sheep is the only mammal that we grow in large quantities that is both without cultural difficulties and is extremely friendly to people. So, we think that this is an amazing product that we want to develop further. We now have a cosmetic, but we're moving into food grade and trying to partner up to do the medical grade collagen. Next. So we finished this year with a very positive outlook, and we think that this will build into, we finished last year, and we think this will build into 2022 and 2023 and beyond. Next. So these are our members of board and directors, and I won't go through individually, but Roscoe Moore, who is our chief scientific advisor, is the former US Deputy Surgeon General, serving both President Bush and Clinton. He's also part of the Global Viral Network, top 40 scientists who advise the world on pandemics, which includes COVID as well as now monkeypox. Next. With that, I say thank you and would like to sign off.
Thanks, Rajen. We've got a couple of questions here, if you don't mind, before you go.
Sure.
Now, what we're seeing in the US, you've seen a build-up of inventories. You spoke about your inventory levels, and you've seen some kind of forced discounting because obviously the supply chain during COVID's been really messy. So I can understand why you've built up on your inventories, but is that a risk, a potential risk also moving forward?
Well, we're not building up inventory, for not even more than 6 months. Number one, we're building that inventory up on the basis of projections given by our partners. We also, the products that we're sending, the raw materials that go into the bread and the pastas we're making there, and these have a shelf life of 5 years. So we don't see a risk of, massive write-offs because they are long expiry products.
Understood. Now, and how do you build a strong brand in what is kind of a really competitive industry?
I think, from a branding point of view, if you don't have a very clearly differentiated product, it becomes very difficult. So we thought then, and we've obviously proven right, we thought we had very differentiating benefits and features, and both our fish oil and our probiotics, and we had the sufficient third-party credibility, and obviously then we went ahead and executed that. In the case of fish oil, for example, we are pure to parts per sub-trillion, and in Malaysia we give out a reward of roughly 350,000 100,000 Australian dollars for any Malaysian who can prove at any one time there was any amount of toxin in any form in our product. And I'm pleased to say for the last 3 years, nobody's picked us up on that offer, including all our competitors. For Lacto-5, there are localized probiotics. There is clinical evidence that if your gut bacteria are from local sources, they survive longer and they perform better. And typically people, at least in Malaysia, we tend to look out to imported products, whether Australia, Japan, Korea, US, right? But we on the shelf have beaten every imported probiotics because local, when it comes to your gut, is always better.
Understood. And just quickly on that ovine collagen product, can you just give us a little bit more color on that? We didn't have much time, I'm sorry.
Okay, yes, I'm sorry too. I would have wanted to talk more. First of all, as far as being a cosmetic ingredient, collagen is probably the best in terms of skin moisturizing. With the Chinese now, we're developing 4 products and they're quite excited. So it's moving along faster post-COVID. But we also been working on nano collagen, which means it will cross the skin, not just stay on the skin. We're making good progress there too. And then we think that we've already developed food grade ingredients, a food grade collagen, but we need a strong partner who can provide us skins. And we're talking to at least 2 players right now, one in New Zealand, one in Australia as a joint venture partner. But ultimately, if you want to look at collagen, then medical grade collagen is where the future is. The last time we've announced this already, 1 kilogram of medical grade collagen is 540,000 Australian dollars. It's worth more than gold. So we've got really a mine in Collie where we do the collagen that has got no life on it. It'll go on forever. And if you think of collagen, it's the most common protein in the human body. It's what we will lose as we age. It's what we'll lose when we are injured or we get burns. It's very big in the burns business. But the future is going to be organ printing. And a top Israeli doctor has already said in the next 10 years, any hospital that does not have an organ printing unit attached to it will not be taken seriously, right? So you're going to have a day when you go to a doctor and doctor's going to say, look, I've really bad news. Your left kidney has got cancer, but guess what? We're going to call you back in 3 weeks. We're going to print it for you. And in those scenarios, collagen is 70% of the ink that they use to print. So we think that there's a very big future there. And we are working right now with a company in the US on this.
Right, Dr. Rajen Manicka, thank you for your time. We'll get you back on another time. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you.